G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk. There's a bit of news that's been broke by Mike Coppinger in the last few hours, and it's not something that you definitely want to read. They're not saying that the fight isn't going to happen or anything like that, but this is where you start getting a bit worried. So, obviously, before I start to read that, it's been dragging on for a while now, but the Fury Usyk situation, we don't know what's happening with it. You know, some weeks you hear from Warren and he's saying that it's pretty much a done deal, it's nearly done, contracts, etc., etc. Then other weeks it's kind of, you hear other stuff and you're just like, what is going on with this? Now, I'll read this quote here. Mike Coppinger has tweeted this. It says, Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk is reportedly now more likely to take place in England rather than Saudi Arabia, if it happens at all. Oh, you don't want to hear that. You do not want to hear that if it happens at all. It's claimed there is a long way to go in the process of trying to agree a deal which financially satisfies both boxers. So obviously the date we were hearing that was being proposed is April the 29th. So if there's still a long way to go, you know, we're getting into the middle of February now. If we still don't have an announcement by March, I would say this ain't happening in April. I'll be pushing this back to God knows when, May or June. And that's just leaving it out and out and out longer and longer and longer. And that's not something I want to hear. That's not something I want to see. So they're saying it's going to take place in England rather than Saudi. So if we're talking about England, it's going to be in a stadium. It's not going to be like in an O2 arena or anywhere like that. It's going to be obviously a stadium fight. So you would imagine that Wembley, being the biggest, would be the one they would do it in. And you read the last part of it there. It's claimed that there's a long way to go in the process of trying to agree a deal which financially satisfies both men. Now, if you go back to the article that was, I think it was August 2022. I think it was the end of August. It might have been just after Usyk beat Joshua. There was talk that they wanted to put this fight on actually this weekend, the Super Bowl weekend. They wanted to do 50-50, etc., Saudi Arabia, all that stuff. So it seems like now that the Saudi deal is apparently gone, or maybe the people who are putting up the money have decided to take that elsewhere, it's going to go to the UK. Now, Frank Warren, it was Bob Arum, was obviously talking about this, you know, a couple of weeks ago, saying that if it does go to the UK and it does happen in, say, Wembley Stadium, Fury gets the lion's share of the purse, or should get the lion's share of the purse. I can't remember if he said will or should. Reading that there, and it's saying that both men financially need to be satisfied, that's a worry. And when you hear stuff like lion's share of the purse, if it takes place in the UK, would I have a problem with Fury getting a bigger percentage, a slightly bigger percentage, say 45-55? I wouldn't really have an issue with that, to be honest with you, because for me, Fury is the bigger name of the two. He is the bigger draw, certainly in the UK. And I think that if it happened in Wembley Stadium, the majority of the fans there will be Fury fans. So for him to get, say, a little bit extra, 45-55 in Fury's favour, I wouldn't have too much of an issue with that. And I think Oleksandr Usyk would probably be well advised to just take the 55. But if you start going into, like, say, 70-30 or 65-35, Fury was willing to give Joshua, when he was trying to negotiate this fight, 60-40. So if we hear numbers like 70-30 or something like that, you got to look at that and think, what the hell is going on in Team Fury? They're willing to give Joshua a bigger percentage than they're willing to give Usyk, despite the fact Usyk comes with the bulk of the titles. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but when you read stuff like a long way to go, financially satisfies both men, you're kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And, you know, Hatman touched on something very, very good, actually, in one of his recent videos on this, where he says, Usyk hasn't got a history of being difficult to negotiate with. This is a guy who travels to anyone's backyard. I mean, cruiserweight, beat Glowacki in Poland, beat Briedis in Latvia, beat Kasiev in Russia, fought Bellew in the UK, fought Joshua in the UK, fought Hunter in the States. Where else? I mean, and probably there's somewhere else as well. But you get that, he's not difficult. He's a case of, you know, if the deal is good, if it's right, all right, let's sign it, let's get it on. But, you know, this is a worry. This is a worry. They're talking about April 29th, but where? You know, it's likely now it's going to be in the UK. So anyone planning on a trip to Saudi, That ain't gonna happen by the looks of things. I don't know. And when you read this tweet here where he's saying it's more than likely to happen in England rather than Saudi, and then if it happens at all, that's a big worry, because that's kind of him alluding to the fact that there's a chance that this fight might fall by the wayside. And people, I don't want this fight to fall by the wayside. It is the number one and number two in the division. It is for all the marbles, undisputed. I really wouldn't, for me, for both guys, it's a case of you two have to fight one another. I won't accept Usyk fighting Joshua a third time, or fighting a Deontay Wilder. Likewise, at this stage, because the fight is there, I wouldn't accept Fury fighting a Joyce, because the fight is literally there for both guys. There's no issues with mandatories. There's no issues with sanctioning bodies. The use 1 and 2, get it on. Haven't had an undisputed champion in the 4-belt era at heavyweight. Haven't had an undisputed champion at heavyweight since Lennox Lewis back in 1999. I want this fight to happen. You know, commercially, is it the biggest fight in boxing? No. And I'll just say that commercially, is it the biggest fight in boxing? You know, people were having a go at Hearn saying, you know, Wilder Joshua is a bigger fight commercially. I don't know why, because it is a bigger fight commercially. In my opinion, it definitely is. But this fight is more important, in my opinion. It might not be bigger commercially, but undisputed 1 and 2 in the division. I mean, this is the fight I want to see. You know, this is the fight that the heavyweight division needs. It needs to have a champion, a single man. Yes, I am the king of the division. You know, and that's what we're this close. And I want it to happen, and I just hope to God that one or the other team is not being difficult and saying, I think I want this and I want this, because we've seen fights like Crawford Spence just break down over these kind of negotiations, and I just hope this isn't the case. I really hope this isn't the case. I hope we get this fight, whether it happens in April, May, June, July, August, September. I don't really care as long as we have it, but hopefully sooner rather than later. I really do, because you know, with Usyk especially, like, I get the Fury I'm not too sure about, but Usyk, I get the feeling that it is literally Fury or bust. That's kind of how I get the feeling it is with Usyk, that it's literally a case of Fury or bust. And what I mean by that is that he's just going to bow out of the sport, because I can't see Usyk sticking around. You can hear it in the way he kind of speaks about this fight, etc., that no one else will really do. He wants this Fury fight. He wants a crack at undisputed, and if he wins or loses, probably either way, truth be told, he'd probably sail off into the sunset. With Fury, I'm not as sure. If he fought Usyk and bet Usyk, would he retire? Would he make a defense? A bit tricky there. I don't know. I'd say he probably would make a defense against Joe Joyce, whereas Usyk, I think, would just say, you know, goodbye, see you later, arrivederci, etc., and that's the end of that. That's how I think. Now, Fury, I wouldn't. Fury's near the end as well. You know, I think both guys are kind of in the twilight of their careers. Usyk, he is old. He's probably got 1 foot out the door already. Fury, if he's not got 1 foot out the door, he's edging ever closer. So yeah, I want to see this fight. So as simple as that. I hope we get it. I hope that whatever the issues are can be resolved. Obviously, like, if it's a case of Fury getting, or Usyk getting shafted with the purse, you can understand that. But if it's a case of 55-45, something like that, you know, I would say to Usyk, that's fair. It is. You know, Fury will, in my opinion, is the bigger draw of the two. That's a fair one. You know, 50-50 would be nice, but 45-55, that's not, you know, they're not pricing themselves out. They're not giving you, you know, a really crap deal. 70-30, yeah, understood, fine. You know, that'd be BS as far as I'm concerned. But we have to wait and see what the situation is with this. Hopefully this fight gets made, and yeah, wherever it takes place, as long as it happens. That's my kind of thing. Wherever in the world, could happen in Timbuktu for all I care, as long as it happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Whenever there's movement on Fury Usyk, you know, your boy will bring you the videos. Thanks again to the Hit Company, as always, for sponsoring this channel. Much appreciated. They do a lot of great work on their website. Links in the description. Go check that out. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you for a review of the week. Peace.